It is October 21st, and Dean is going through some definitions for us. So the first one is pad ship.
Okay, the PAD. First of all, I don't know for sure, but it was. We used to think it was Pacific Australia Direct, because that's the route that the ship took. Or the name of the three ships that went that route. The Corella, the Alunga, and there was another ship. I'm not sure what. But I always thought it was Pacific Australia Direct. That was what they stood for. Okay. Any other thing about the pads?
No, I think someone just heard it on an interview, and they were just wondering what pad ship was.
There were two big initials, and I always had it at Pacific Australia Direct because they went from Pacific Coast to Australia back and forth.
Yeah.
So sometimes I don't know how they made it.
Yeah. Okay, and then the definition grabs.
Well, grabs. Have you ever seen trains come down and they got a grab, like fingers, and they grab stuff?
Oh.
Pick it up. Anything that grabs a hold of anything would be called the grabs.
Oh, okay.
And you would either have them on trains. They would grab up metal or iron ore or whatever it is. You would just grab it up and pick it up and deposit it.
Oh, what type of machines would that be?
That would be mobile trains, in most of it, or gantry trains. And then you had grabs, you had standing gear. They worked on all kinds of things.
Yeah.
The standing gear, and you would scoop up or scoop up whatever, and you'd pick it up and go over and dump it. Yeah. And in the old days, we had single winches, and each guy would have a winch. And you would pick it up together, and you'd go down. The one guy would hold it, and then one guy would loosen it off, and that would open up the grabs. Then you both go down, pick it up, whatever the scoop was, and then one guy would tighten up the grab, and pick it up together, and take it over, and dump it on an ore car, and that's what.
What's a mud ship?
What I was talking about, the ship where they put the ore concentrate that came by conveyor belt.
Yeah.
And it was loaded aboard the ship.
Was it a conveyor belt from PCT?
From PCT.
And it would go...
Yeah. How they would do that, the mud or the iron ore or lead ore or whatever ore it was, come in by rail car. They had like a backhoe that was called a grader. Scoop it out of the old car, put it into string around and dump it in a warehouse. Yeah. And then they would have a front end loader come and pick it up there and put it in big piles in the warehouse and store it there till the ship came. Yeah. And then they had a conveyor belt with a hopper at one end and a conveyor belt up to the ship. We'd set it up, and then the front end loaders would come in and dump it in the hopper, and they would go aboard ship.
And then the longshoremen would they carry it, or it would just go in?
It would just go in. Now, what would happen when it got up to a certain height, then we would have a small cat, or a bobcat they called, and we would take that and put it down on the top with an operator on it, and we'd have the gear still holding it so it wouldn't slide down, and we'd go back and forth and spread it out over the hatch.
Okay.
And that was a very dirty job. I was thinking of doing that one time because I thought it was on the cat would do it. Till a friend of mine, Gordy Wilson, did it, and at lunchtime he was as black as your hair.
What was that job called?
It was a machine was operating a bobcat. We called it a bobcat.
Yeah. I guess that
small little cat, with a blade on it.
And would there be dust from the...
Yes, that's how you get as black as your hair.
That must have been bad for your lungs.
I would consider it would be bad for your lungs, everything, but I said, no, that's not for me.
Yeah.
I'll pass up that job.
Okay, what is a Johnson bar?
Well, okay, the Johnson bar is on the steam winches. They had a big lever, could be 3 feet long or longer, that you had to move, and you had to change the winch from going this way to going the other way, from going up to going down. If it was in the middle, you could find the middle, the winch was dead, stopped. Now, if you pulled down on this Johnson bar, that meant the winch was pulling something up.
Oh, so it's a part. It's like the lever for the
Yeah,
machine. It's
big
called
lever.
a Johnson bar.
Yeah, big lever.
Okay.
And if you went back that way, then it was going down.
Okay.
And a lot of times, because it was steam, you couldn't. The center stop wasn't centered. Sometimes the Johnson bar this was going down and this was going up, but center could be here,
Yeah.
stopping, or over there. It wouldn't be right up here.
Okay.
And a lot of times, if you were driving 2 winches at the same time, steam winches,
Controlling 2,
the sensors would be here. You'd be,
Yeah.
and a lot of times you couldn't even find center. You're just going back and forth.
Can you tell us about slingmen working on scows?
Yes, the slingman, by the time they got enough seniority to be a steady slingman, a lot of them were in their 50s or older. Now, it was a good job on the dock, and it was an easy job, but when you had scow work, especially timbers or lumber, then it became hard and became very dangerous, very hazardous. Because, and I don't know why they never did it, but they never had a save-all between it, but they just would throw a rope ladder over the side of the ship, off the rail, tied to the rail. The slingman would have to have a Mae West life jacket on, and they'd have to climb over the side with their gear, lunch pail or whatever else, and other gear they had, down to the scow. And then sometimes the loads in the scows, if you've seen them on pictures of them, they're piled, would have to climb all over those loads to try and hook up the top load and get it off. Now, that was okay in the summertime. I mean, it's still hazardous, and that's a rough job. But if you get in the wintertime when there's snow, and where it's snowing and raining, and you got to have rain gear on, and that rain gear is not that pliable, and plus the Mae West life jacket on, getting over the hatch, and getting over the rail of the ship, climbing down the Jacob's ladder, as we called it, and onto it was pretty hazardous. It was pretty clumsy. It was a clumsy thing to do. It was very clumsy. And then all this loose lumber you had to climb around. It wasn't nice packaged lumber. It was loose lumber and stick. You had to climb around with all this equipment and gear on you, your rain gear, and it's slippery in your boots. So it was a pretty dangerous and hazardous job and a hard job. It wasn't an easy job on the scow. And we had a safety boat man, because if you fall off, he could pick you up.
Okay.
We had a safety boat all the time on the river.
And would that be a longshoreman? That was.
It was a fisherman who became a longshoreman at the time.
Oh.
And what they would do, if they were they would have their boat, little fishing boat, and just tie it to the scow and just stay all day watching. So if you had a longshoreman, he had a boat. He had anybody had a boat that came up to the safety standards, he would go out there as a boatman.
So the fisherman who became a longshoreman, he would have gone through through the boards, right? Like he.
Yeah, he would go, but his main thing would be boatman. That would be his rating.
Oh, boatman. Okay.
And he'd have his own boat.
Oh, do they still have that?
Yeah, we still have safety boats.
Oh, and the rating boatman.
Yeah, and they phone them up, and they're you're a boatman and steady boat, and you have steady boatman, then you had casual boatman, once in a while. And
Yeah. Oh, that's another job I didn't hear. I've never heard
Oh, yeah.
of. Yeah. I guess.
in the old days, they always had a case or 2 of beer for the guys
Yeah.
to go out there and visit them.
Yeah. but he would get paid the same, right?
They get paid a bit more because of the boat and the gas and stuff.
Oh,
So
yeah. Right.
They get paid more.
Oh, okay. But how many people would do that? Not many, right?
No. I'd hazard a guess man alive, probably the most you'd have is at any time, 5, maybe 10, 12 at that time, boatmen.
Out of the whole union.
Yeah, that would actually be working. Because, I mean, there's not often you'd have scour, so you don't need a boatman,
Yeah.
you know.
And what are elevator ships?
Elevator ships, now, these were ships that had an elevator in them. And they were car ships. And you drove the car onto the elevator, and you reached out your window and pressed the button up, and you would take it up to the top deck, and you would take it and you would drive it off down a ramp onto the dock.
Yep.
And then you'd walk up and get another car, and you'd go down the elevator and come out and get another car. Now, that worked until we had a guy, he drove into the elevator that wasn't there. And
Oh my goodness. Did he die?
no,
Oh,
no.
well, that's good.
But I mean, after a while, you know, and it wasn't, the elevators only went so fast, it wasn't very economical, you know.
Sure, yeah. So like, was that one of the first methods of unloading car ships?
Yeah, it was, one of the methods of loading car ships was just slings around the wheels,
Yeah.
grabs, and these were grabs that would pick the
Yeah.
wheels. That's another thing. They were like fingers, 4 fingers or 2 fingers that would pick up.
Yeah.
And you had a bridle on top, and that they hung from, square frame, and we'd do it that way. Roll the car out to the center, or first of all there'd be a key, and this is where you bring the bridle down, and you take the key car out in the middle, and take that out. And there was a lot of damage the first time because guys wore buckles. These grabs they bind against cars, and it was really hard to keep them steady.
Yeah.
So then after you got the key out, as much as you could, then you rolled them up
Yeah.
and you put it on, and that was for a while.
Yeah.
And I could tell you a story about that.
Okay, sure.
A friend of mine working there, I worked with him for years afterwards. He took winch training on steam winches, so his first job was a winch, you know, and I'm his partner. And we were bringing a car out that same way, and he's letting go, and I'm pulling up.
Yeah.
But he let go so fast that I couldn't pull up fast enough.
Yeah.
So the car went down, and the back wheels caught the rail of the ship, and the car hung from the rail of the ship down sideways like that.
Oh my gosh.
So he left, they got a Hatchman went over and says, okay, I'll get this. So me and the Hatchman, we picked it up and
Yeah.
we got it set. But I don't think he ever drove winch after that.
No?
It was his first and last time
Yeah.
he went to the training.
So-
I never did see him.
Oh, when these cars got damaged, who would pay for the damage?
The insurance company, they were insured, and they were an insurance company, and they had a body shop on the dock, or take them to a body shop,
Yeah.
and they would fix them up and get them, you know.
Do they still have body shops in the dock?
Yeah, because the cars do get damaged, so they
Yeah.
got to take them there and they got to check them all out, make sure
Yeah.
there's no scratches, or they buff it out, or they, you know,
Right.
no damage.
And-
Very, New Westminster has very little damage compared to any other
Yeah.
carport.
Yeah. So who drives the cars away from the dock? Is it
Well-
longshoremen that do that, or is it the car company?
The longshoremen drive the cars to a place of rest
Yeah.
on the dock.
Yeah.
After that, the Teamsters come along and take it.
Okay.
And we had a big fight with the Teamsters over that back in the day. Because we used to do it all.
And you would drive it to the dealership?
No, but we would load it on the trucks.
Oh, trucks. Okay. Yeah.
And the Teamsters and truck drivers used to do that. Then they came on the docks
Yeah.
and stuff. And we loaded it. And really, as you'll see from Norm Stitlers, that wasn't a job that we really liked doing. So we put up, in my opinion anyways, a little fight, you know, just
Yeah.
but you know, if you really want that job, driving them on the car. But then we, by giving it up, the Teamsters got more than what we thought they would get. But those are the things, you know, you win some, you lose some, and that's just the way it is. Those people they're not making the money we're making, but they're making a good living,
Yeah.
you know. And so I'm not too.
So are Teamsters a different union?
Yes,
What union are they?
they're the Teamsters Union.
It's called that. It's
The
called
Teamsters Union.
that. And what do they do?
They're in transportation, truck drivers are
Okay.
Teamsters.
Okay. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
and transportation. And so all over the world and all over the states, the Teamsters Union. It's all one big union.
Okay. Interesting. What's a spud?
Okay, a spud is a long handle, piece of wood, and what it had, it came to a point, not a sharp point, but a point like that, and it's a long handle, like a PV handle or like an axe handle, but not like an axe handle. It was round. It's mostly like if I can do it, a baseball bat.
Yeah.
And you could put it in a spud into crevices that you didn't want damaged because you couldn't have a metal point on it and move things, either rolls or something like that by hand.
What kind of cargo?
It could be pulp, it could be paper.
Oh, so things are
You know?
delicate.
Yeah, things are delicate. And if it was lumber, we'd use a peavey to move the thing.
Yeah.
You can't do it, you use a spud. It was just like a peavey, but it didn't have any metal on it.
Yeah.
And so you couldn't damage the paper or pulp or what you were doing.
Yeah. What's a cordage plant?
A what?
A cordage plant.
A cordage plant.
Maybe that's not a longshore term.
I haven't heard of it.
Have you ever heard of it? Okay.
I don't remember hearing it.
Bomb carts.
Well, bomb carts they are a machine with a trailer on the back, and what happens is they drive around the dock, and that's a one-person machine, and they can put lumber on this trailer, they can put containers on it, they can put whatever on it, and then you drive it onto the ship.
Yeah.
On a row ship,
Yeah.
you drive the container onto the ship, or if it's containers, you drive the lumber or cargo onto the ship. Now, if it's containers, you have a container trailer, and you drive it by the side of the ship, and they take it off. The container off, and aboard ship, or they put it on your bomb cart, and you take it to wherever the yard that they tell you by radio. Like,
Okay.
it's number 425, aisle 8.
Yeah.
Aisle A.
Yeah.
So you go down to aisle A and go up to, and there's all the numbers are printed on the ground.
Okay.
And if you can read them, if it's not all worn out, 425.
Yeah.
But most of the time when you take them there, they have a forklift, a lift truck driver,
Yes.
waiting there to take it off.
Okay.
So what you do is you look down, oh, there's a lift truck. Go down there.
Is that a good job?
It's a boring job,
Yeah.
but it's a steady job.
Okay.
No, they need so many of them that you can work just about 7 days a week doing it.
Wow.
It's a boring job. And a lot of people who take that training to be a bomb cart driver later on wish they wouldn't because they can't get off of it.
Is it boring because you can't work in a group with someone else?
Yeah, and it's the same thing every day.
yeah.
You can never get off that
Yeah.
job.
What's a white list?
Well, there is a list of people who are qualified to work at West Shore Terminals. Now, at West Shore Terminals, you have heavy equipment, and you got to be a heavy equipment operator. They pay you very good money, and you got to be good.
Yeah.
A good employee. So, the hall, if people got the seniority, they send a white list, and these people get trained, come to West Shore, and they spend a while getting orientated and trained. And then the company decides whether they accept or not as spares,
Yeah.
as casuals. And if they do, then you get accepted on the white list. Now you get on that white list, you are supposed to service it.
Oh.
So when they need somebody from West Shore, they call your name, and you're supposed to go.
Yeah.
But, I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to work, at West Shore, it's an 8-hour-a-day job.
Yeah.
Sometimes 14 hours. That changes, put in 12 hours. So, you know, so, but he had to be there. But they pay you very good money. But other guys think, well, I can get paid a day's wages at good money, you know. I'm only there for 2 hours. Why do I gotta go take, you know, or why do I gotta go to take the bobby car?
Yeah.
So they try not to take the job, so they wait for it. But on the wait list, if it really needs to be, they can force you to take it.
Yeah.
But that means only you can go out there as a casual.
Yeah.
Nobody else can.
Yeah.
And you're rated for those jobs. You can have those jobs.
Do you need, how many years seniority do you think you need to get on the wait list?
We need so many people at West Shore that we're seriously talking about taking people from Seaboard.
Wow.
That's how bad it is. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Faith will
We
be
would
going
work in there.
out
Yeah.
there. Will be going out there. Because right now, this is one of the things that there's so much work that we're seriously thinking of, you know, before it was only members, and for years, only members were out there, because that was the big wage. And then it got so, hey, members are working 100 days at a time. We got to have time off. There's nobody there to
Yeah.
replace them. And then we went down to A-Board. Well, A-Board did it, but still, there were better jobs. Why spend 8 hours a day when I can get finished at noon
Yeah.
on a car shift? Well, they won't take it. So then now the A-Board, then it was B-Board. Now we're talking, okay, C-Board. I mean, in this day and age, it's hard to explain why a person would pass up $60 an hour for 8 hours. Say no. And I myself, because I'm from the old town, and I find that I don't understand it myself.
Yeah.
But you know, people do. I mean, you got your choice. You want to work for 2 hours on a car shift or 4 hours on a car shift, and you got something to do this afternoon.
Yeah.
You get paid for 8. Or do you want to go to West Shore and you get good money, but you're there to 4.
So, do people not like going to West Shore because it's isolated? Compared to, no?
No. Because you got your own group of guys you work with and everything, you know. And I work with, I don't know how it is now, but I work with the same group of all these guys. We all started together. We all did all the jobs through us. And we all slowly through the years went to West Shore. And so you knew all these guys from the time you were 16.
Yeah.
And these guys, like Joe Briggs, Jerry White, these guys, and at that age, I said, we were the top operators. I mean, we would go wolf. You can ask, go wolfie, you know. And especially when this all the women went on strike, Joe Briggs and them would go there. And the production just on a ship would double just because they knew how to, you know, they were the top operators. And we'd operated all our life, and, you know, I don't know how it is, but we know how to work, you know, how to get things done.
Can you tell us the story again about how the secretaries wanted a pay raise, and then the guys at West Shore want to give it to them?
Oh, well, the one strike that West Shore ever had, the women, the secretaries and payroll women wanted a raise and pay. They had the contract, and Joe Briggs is negotiating for them, and they want their contract. And the company, and I think it was Westar at the time, who owned the company, no, they're not giving these women anything. Well, the women went on strike. And I mean, they let it go for about 10 days or something. And for a little amount of money the women wanted, and they lost millions. And us longshoremen, crazy. And I guess they thought we would cross their picket line because we were women. And I guess they thought that the CPR and CNR would cross their picket line and stuff. And they couldn't understand. Nobody crossed it. Everything was shut down. And all the money that they lost for, you know, In comparison, it was like for a peanut, you know. So that was the only strike that West Shore ever had, and it was the women that went on strike.
And what local were these women from?
517.
And what was the what was
502.
it called? No, the 517. What was it called?
It was the office workers union.
Office
Workers local.
Yeah.
And all the workers from all over the place.
Yeah.
And with all the BCMA in that, they all were 517.
Yeah.
But no. So I would think somebody lost their head over that,
Yeah.
Yeah. The labor relations person was completely didn't know his job.
And this is in the 80s.
Yeah, it was in the 80s. I don't remember if it was 80s or late 70s, but it was one of those.
Yeah. And then mud sheds. Does that relate to mud ships?
Mud shed?
Yeah, mud sheds.
That was when the ore cars came in, the great all picked up the ore and put it in the mud shed. And this was a shed, the warehouse that they put all the mud in, all the ore in.
Right.
It was called the mud shed.
Oh, okay, cool. The dumper, or
Okay, that's a machine that we came on, and we bring the train in. The first time this is at West Shore Terminals, and there's 2 sets of chocks for each wheel, and we bring the train in and have it set right there. Push the button for the chocks to come up, and then we push the button for it to dump, and the big clamps would come down on top of the rail car, the coal car, and clamp it right tight, roll it over upside down,
dump it.
and dump it onto the grates below, and dump it back. And then they had an arm that was on rails and cable, and it held the knuckle of the car, of the rail car. It would go up, go back, go down on another one, and bring another car in. And you would dump it, and then it would go up, and bring another one. And you'd sit there and 3.5 hours, sometimes 3.5 hours, and that's all you're doing.
And are you up high doing
Yes,
that?
you're up high looking at the pit.
Yeah.
You're looking at the whole operation. And so if anything goes wrong, you can, you know it. Nowadays, they don't have that. In their wisdom, the cab, the dumper is here, the cab is over here. And you're just looking at a TV screen.
Yeah.
I mean,
So you're not, you're not really seeing what's
not
going
seeing it
on.
and you're not feeling it. And see how a lot of time with operating heavy equipment, how it feels lets you know what's wrong with it. The vibrations, the sounds. Because you get used to certain sounds all the time.
Yeah.
And one new sound, click. What's that? I know it. Somebody would come in there and never notice that sound, but you've been in there, so you notice all the sound, and you click. Or the vibrations of that machine. Somebody would come and never notice it, but you operate it, you know the vibrations. Hey, if some different vibration happens, right away you notice what's going on.
So today, they're not in the machines anymore. Where are they now?
There's a room that used to be an office in the upper floor of the office building, and they got computer screens there. It's called the rubber room. You bounce off the wheel, like you bounce off the walls, They call it. They nicknamed the rubber room. They go nuts in there, and they got all these computer screens showing you the machine, and you're operating it by remote control. All the machines, the 4 stackers, operating it. These big long coal trains I used to operate, well, they still do, by remote control.
And how many people would be in the room working with you?
And doing all of just you yourself. And a guy would come up and relieve you for coffee and for lunch and for coffee.
Okay.
And I don't know. I can tell you a story about
Okay, sure.
about the dumper, the old dumper 32, the old one. They don't have it there when they first come in. this one guy, he became a superintendent, but this was when he wasn't.
Yeah.
He's in the West Shore, and he's just learning the dumper.
Yeah.
and he's got this foreman training him, telling him what to do. And we used to take the train down at the end of the causeway. Have you ever been out there?
No, I've never been there.
Well, we used to take over the train and bring it all the way down the causeway. And this was at night, getting dark, and you could see the light of the train. And go on, you've got 8 throttles. 1, don't see nothing moving. 2, 3, what's going on? So the foreman's never been an operator. He's just there. And finally, and you see it coming. They got this thing coming down like
So fast.
and they can't stop it. So they put on the brakes, and Jim Sickman, he was the operator at the time. He got up and says, "I'm gonna leave it." And that's the point we did. And it went through that bumper.
Oh my God!
There was no chalk set, but it just went right through that
Oh
bumper.
my gosh! That could have been dangerous.
Oh, could have been really
Very
dangerous. That was Jim Sickman's first time.
Yeah.
Well, it's not moving. Try another throttle, Jim. But of course, when it's coming right at you, you can't tell. And at night, you just see the light.
Right. What does it mean when people say troubleshoot the dumper?
Okay. If there's something wrong with the dumping machine, we have 2 men that we call troubleshooters. And they're part of the gang, and one's an industrial electrician, the other one's a heavy-duty mechanic and a welder. They go out to the dumper, ask questions, and check the dumper and see what is wrong with it. And they try and fix it. And 90% of the time, they can fix it. Reset something, do a little this, and it gets it going again.
Yeah.
And that's troubleshooting the dumper. When you but you troubleshoot at any machine.
Right. So, and they would be called troubleshooters.
Yes, and that's specifically, what they're to do. And one time, they're sitting in the lunchroom doing nothing, and superintendent comes in. "Why aren't you working?" "Well, there's no troubleshooting." "Well, you should get up." And they had to tell him, "Look, when we're sitting in the lunchroom, you're making money. When we're working, you're losing money."
Yeah.
So it's way best for us to sit in the lunchroom.
Right. So, would it be more common now for more machines to require troubleshooters to be a part of the gang?
From what I understand, yes.
Yeah.
But Shane's out there, and he would know more because I've been there. But the more they wanted computers in and to computerize everything, the more staff they had to find.
Yeah.
They had to get. So it hasn't really worked out for them
Yeah.
because I think the people, just my opinion, who went to university to know all about computer science and how to do programming stuff, I think they did a lot of cheating. So when it really come up to the real world, they don't have a clue. They only have half a clue of what they're doing.
Because these machines break down so often.
Yes. And like Shane told me, he worked for years at Deltaport. When the computer was running it, it went. But when the computer was down, production was up by 50%. It was just man-made.
Yeah.
So the people who programmed the computers sell the company a bill of goods.
Yeah.
And the company, so cheating at university, getting the answers to the test, hey, is not good for the economy. It's not good for anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
May get you through the test and stuff, but
Yeah.
really, out in the real world, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Slipboards. Slipboards?
Slipboards. We used to have boards that were about that wide and that long. And you'd put them, if you wanted to slip anything down that was hard, you could lay them down and you could slip cargo or stuff down on the boards.
And you would have a bunch of them, right?
Yeah.
What kind of cargo could you just slide?
You could, there would be bundles of, let's say, bundles of cotton, stuff like that. Something that you could slide on, slip on. And if you had any hand truck, you had to carry anything down a barrel or something, and the floor was rough, you're on top of other cargo, So you gotta, it's rough. You can't run a hand truck. You put a slipboard down there,
Yeah.
and that was it. That was one thing. And now, I've heard of slipboards, of other things being called slipboards, like on a barge, and when you've got a runway, a roadway, a walkway coming down to the dock, you can drive on and off.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
slanted.
Now I've heard of them being called slipboards,
Okay.
but that's all I know about.
Yeah. Okay. What about tagline?
Okay. If you're on a train and you've got a big object, and it's got to be set down just right someplace, what you do is you tie a piece of rope to either end, and that's called a tagline, and it's down to a guy down below or a guy on the dock or whatever, and as you pick it up, they keep it from moving, they keep it straight, and you bring it over, and you land it down, and they can keep that right straight so it lands down this way, and it doesn't turn or anything else. And if it's windy, they hold it in the wind and stuff like that. Now that's a tagline, and a lot of cargo had to have a tagline on it if they were off with beams and stuff like that.
Yeah.
All depends where you wanted to place it.
So it'd be an additional rope? Or,
Yeah. They had ropes, and you would just tie it on
Yeah.
to the sling and hold it. And you'd have to have that for tents, for all kinds of different things. You'd have to have
Yeah.
taglines.
What about boomstick?
Huh?
Boomstick.
The boomstick. Well, on the gantry, on booms,
Yeah.
not a gantry, but steam winches, the booms would be up to a Samson post like here.
Yeah.
And this is called the boom, and it would be swinging out.
Yeah.
A swinging stick, and this is called a boomstick.
Okay, so the pole.
The big pole, but
okay.
they don't call it a pole, they call it a boom or
Yeah.
a boomstick.
Yeah. Can you talk about why the local decided not to have a strike fund?
Well, what I was told from the old timers, when I started in '60, I was wondering that too, and they told me that unions that have a strike fund, it would be too easy for them to go on strike.
Yeah.
Hello? Yeah? Good. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that if I can't, I'll phone you up. Okay. Right. That's just a food bank. You want me to come in for a full day on Friday? I volunteered at food bank.
Oh, nice.
So, what would we...
About why there isn't a strike fund.
Right, the strike fund. Well, we thought that it would be too easy to go on strike if you have a big strike fund builds up. You have a big strike fund. We wanted to make it that every longshoreman that voted, they knew it would cost them to go on strike. So we didn't go on strike for anything that it was trivial.
Yeah.
Had to be a major thing before we would vote to go on strike. And because we looked over at that time, a lot of unions and the IWA and stuff had big strike funds. And I guess we thought they went on strike too easily, So we decided years ago, before my time, that would be no strike fund. The guys would have to before you go on strike, it would be a major thing.
Yeah.
And you're willing to risk whatever.
So after the 1935 strike, those who broke the strike, which union, where did they work?
The ones that went back to work. Well, first of all, when I started in '61, the 35 strike, was bad and all that,
Yeah.
The guys that broke it, guys that left the union and went to work and jumped the fence.
The scabs.
Yeah, and jumped the fence and stuff. But then after a while, years later, our union took them in.
Yeah.
And I talking to one. I was in his gang for a year or so, Claire McGraw. You know, I asked him how did it affect you? You know, how come you jump the fence?
Yeah.
He says, he says, we were on strike. We had no money. My family was starving. There was no work. Nobody would support us. I couldn't get any money in. I had absolutely no choice. I had to. And he said, the men that did it, they were family men. The guys that weren't family could stick it out.
Yeah.
They didn't. But the family men, they were starving and they had no food. The wives, nobody would give them credit in town.
Yeah.
Nobody would help them out. They couldn't get money, and so they were stuck there. So then I empathized with them. Then I understood.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't that they were weak and stuff like this. No, they were pushed right to the wall,
Yeah.
and that's why. You know, and I wasn't in, but I mean, I look back in the 1935 strike. And I think, in my personal opinion, I think it was a bad time to go on strike. You know?
Yes, it's a Great Depression.
Yeah, and I think it was a bad. But you know, you don't know
Yeah.
what those people did. But I think it was a bad time.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's what happened.
Yeah.
But McGraw and some other guys, you know, they came back and hey, they were good guys, good workers. And once once I heard why and they're part of the story,
Yeah.
I can realize it because. If you're starving, there's no work, you can't get any money, and nobody else. You know, a lot of like nowadays, you go on strike, you can get another job, a little job on the side. At that time, no, there was no job on the
Yeah.
side. You could get credit, live on your credit card, or live on. There was no credit.
Yeah.
There was nothing. You didn't have the cash. You starved,
Yeah.
and your family starved. You didn't get to pay the rent. You're out.
Yeah.
And
Homeless.
that's it. You're homeless. So they did he said that we did all we could. And we hung in there as long as we could. And then-
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Do you feel like some of the union members have kind of stigmatized, those guys a lot? Because, I mean, they probably didn't understand why, the story.
Yeah, but in all my time, the guys that I knew that jumped the fence in 35 and otherwise, I didn't hear in their face anybody calling them scabs
Yeah.
or anything,
Yeah.
calling them anything derogatory.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
And only time you would hear about them being a scab or anything derogatory, was in a beer parlor. When they're not around. So,
Yeah.
so scab, and this guy's scab, but that's how I knew about it.
Yeah.
And I worked with him, so I sitting around lunchtime, and I asked him, why did you and stuff?
Yeah.
I want to know. And he told me.
Yeah.
So it changed my opinion of, there were strike breakers, scabs, at least the opinion I got from doing that, from Clement.
Yeah.
He wasn't a strike breaker, he was a scab. He had to go to, and it's not something that he liked doing or anything
Yeah.
else. He was forced into it.
Yeah.
That's life. That's just the way it is.
Yeah. And so before in 1963, 502 and 511 amalgamated, the dock workers
Yeah.
and the deep sea.
Yep.
So which local had more of the strike breakers? Was it 511 or?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No, I don't know who had more or what,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I know the bigger local was, 502.
Yeah.
So maybe in percentage-wise,
Yeah.
if you wanted to do it. But I don't know. What I do know is those guys in the docks got membership right away. And I was like, wow. And I mean, my friend Mel McLeod, he's up in the unemployment office in New Westminster, and he had a job, either go to Fraser Mills or go down to PCT on the docks and work. And he's a young kid,
Yeah.
I'll go to PCT. He's closer. I'll go to PCT. He went down there, and in it wasn't even 3 months. He was a member because he got down there just when we took them all in. And he's there. So he was a member.
Yeah.
So he just said him, "You're right."
Yeah.
And I mean, we used to call him and a few other ones that got backdoor bandits.
Yeah.
But it was, jovial.
Yeah. Is it because you guys were kind of maybe a bit jealous? They got into
Well,
it
yeah,
easily?
they got into it. Of course you are jealous. You said, man, alive.
Yeah.
That's why these guys back there only been Longshore in a few months and they're members, and it takes me 6 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So of course there's a little bit of,
Yeah.
but they were good guys, the guys that I worked with.
Yeah.
They're all good. I mean, it shows you never know. A flip of the coin and you can have a good job, or you could, Fraser Mills, if you'd attack Fraser Mills, they were closing down. There was no good for them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you never know. And the decisions you make when you're young, like your age, they affect you, and you can affect 2 or 3 generations of your family.
Yeah.
Really. Like the decision I made to go Longshore. What did it affect?
Yeah.
It affected me.
Yeah.
It affected my son. It's affected Faith. And here it's affecting my grandson.
Yeah.
And I made that decision at 17.
Yeah.
I didn't know nothing.
Yeah.
So,
So, in 1980s, where you worked at West Shore, right?
yep.
Yeah, thingies. Okay.
I was the longest commute ever.
How long did it take you?
From where I lived to where
Yeah.
I worked? Take a guess.
1 hour?
Take a guess in miles.
Oh, miles. Oh, I'm not very good.
I lived 120 miles
What?
northeast of Edmonton. And I worked at West Shore Terminal.
But you flew a plane, right? You took the
I
airplane.
drove. I caught up my midlife crisis.
Yeah.
I went up there and I had a small hobby ranch. I built my own log house,
Yeah.
own log barn, had everything there.
Yeah.
I would drive 2.5 hours to the Edmonton airport, fly an hour and a half to Vancouver, hop into my car, drive to work at West Shore. I'd be working a 5-day shift. So I'd stay with my mom and dad for 5 days, and then I'd fly back. And I did that for 5 years. And I was home on an average in Alberta on my ranch 17 days a month. And I never missed a paycheck.
Wow.
And the people there, my neighbors and stuff that knew me, you're not working because you're home more than I am, and I work here. And they just didn't realize Longshoring, what's Longshoring? How come you hear all the time?
Yeah, Faith told me that when she was in Alberta, she had never heard of longshoremen because they don't have ports there.
And that, Shane met her there.
Yeah.
Married her.
Yeah.
And the only reason I'm still not doing it, up to when I retired, is Shane left to go to college.
Yeah.
And my driveway was 1.5 miles long.
Yeah.
Nearest neighbor was a mile. And I just left my wife there, and so she's not going to be there alone. We decided to sell and come back here. But it was we were there, I guess, 5 years. It was good. I enjoyed it. I would still be there because I didn't mind the travel.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we made enough money that the traveling really wasn't bad because Pacific Western at that time had a deal. Return trip to Edmonton and back, $100.
That's so cheap.
Right, so $50 one way, and $50 the other. And I'm thinking, okay, how much money is that? I got to work half a day for this.
Yeah.
And I would get a year's tickets in advance.
Really?
Because I would figure it all out, moving here, my schedule and everything else. Okay, because you had to have, sometimes I had 2 tickets because I had one ticket for coming here and another ticket for going home. and then another one from going home, and another one from coming. I had a.
You must have been one of their most loyal flyers.
Yeah, I got a lot of points.
Yeah?
Oh yeah. Went, flew back east on points and stuff, and had a great time. But it was nobody else is being commuted that far. We've got guys that live in Kamloops that commute. You ever been to around Peachland?
Yeah, I've
and Princeton? Princeton?
No, I think
In behind Princeton, maybe 60 miles is Lake Tulamane.
I've never been there, but
A lot of longshoremen live there, and they
why do they live there?
because they want to, they can.
Oh,
Because I mean, you're not required to work,
yeah.
so you work when you want. Okay, honey, I'm going to go to work. And I'll take my pickup truck and a camper, and we go down and go to work for 5 days.
And then where do they pack their camper?
You can put it in the parking lot, or drive it to work, come back, and park it anywhere in the parking lot of the union, the hall, and they live there. Live there for 5 days, or how many ever days they want. And go back, and the check goes into the bank, and they live good.
Wow.
I think Jerry White lived there, Tulamane.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you guys live there. And other guys, we've got guys now that live in Kamloops. A longshoreman, you can, if you want to, you can live just about any place you want.
Yeah.
We've got guys that live in Asia, live there.
What?
Yeah, they live in Asia.
But you just come here to work.
Yeah, they come here to work. They got their wife and family there.
Yeah.
They live in countries in Asia.
Yeah.
We were at a retirement party, and a guy just, not a party, but we always get together a month. And one of the guys from West Shore, but he's not retired yet. He's quit West Shore. And he's out of the hall.
Yeah.
So he can live in Thailand. He flies in. He's here, work here for a month. He's got to spend his 6 months here anyway. So he works and grinds it out here, and he goes back and lives good there in Thailand. You can live. Just like a lot of the young guys go to Asia, and they'll go there and spend their time. And I was surprised. Tell you, the young guys have talked to me, and they say we party with Canadian women, but we don't marry Asian.
Yeah? Why is that?
Well, they figure they're so much better and treat them so much nicer. No, I don't know that, how many do that, but that was it. We'll party with the Canadian women, but we don't marry Asian.
During the 1980s, I think drinking was a really big problem for the union. At least that's what I've gotten.
Yeah.
How bad was it?
Well, I think it was bad, but not as bad as the 60s.
It was worse in the 60s.
The 60s was a different, just was different.
Yeah.
I mean, if you remember the 60s, they say you weren't there. So, I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
The 80s was bad, for the 80s and stuff. It was bad, and you had to really clamp down on it.
Yeah.
But in the 60s, there was no clamping down, never. Never thought of clamping down or nothing like that. So it wasn't, I think personally was worse in the 60s
Yeah.
and early 70s. But nobody thought to even, that was just part of the job. It was, we thought that they. But then when it got heavy equipment and it became safety conscious, then it became an issue.
Yeah.
But in the 60s, the people I worked with and stuff like that, if you didn't have a bottle, sometimes the foreman had supplied the bottle, You made the run every day.
Yeah.
10 o'clock, it was, you don't do that now, but in there it was just a common thing. You made the run. The liquor store opens at 10,
Yeah.
ran live, you're there.
And so what happened if you didn't have the money?
Somebody else had it.
Someone else had it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it would be every shift at 10 a.m. Some guy would go and in
Yeah,
the
you know,
liquor store?
some guys they didn't. You know,
Yeah.
some gangs.
Yeah.
Guys were drinkers, they were family. Other gangs, because you work with your group of guys,
Yeah.
10 o'clock.
Yeah.
I remember one time, Steve Skatinsky, he was a big man. He was in top shape then, a big man.
Yeah.
He'd been hung over Saturday morning, hung over, and I go get the bottle for him. And I'm handing him the bag of the bottle, and he's grabbing it, and it falls, and it breaks. And I think, Dean, you're dead. I think I'm ready to fight for my life. And I never saw you. He almost cried. I said, cease. I'll get another bottle.
Yeah.
He said, yeah, please.
Was it? He must have been alcoholic.
No, but when you're hungover in the morning and you're working, it's pretty tough.
Yeah.
Look, see what you do. You'd party all night when you were younger.
Yeah.
Parked my car in front of the hall. Jerry Lester, he was a dispatcher, we called him the bullfrog.
Yeah.
Come on, wake us up in the hall. Come on, guys, get to work. Oh, hungover, you know, feeling tough. Get up and get a job, go to work. By 10 o'clock, you're working hard, you're not feeling too bad.
Yeah.
Send somebody, you know, to a bottle, get a bottle, and then hey, by noon, you're feeling good.
Yeah.
Back to the bar, drinking. Hey, finish your job. Hey, instead of going home for supper, you will go to the bar for one drink. Before you know it, it's 9 o'clock, too late to get home. I might as well get shot for as cheap as a lamb. And you're doing the same thing again. That was the 60s.
Yeah. So what would happen if someone didn't want to drink? Like
Didn't go home.
What if he
A lot of guys didn't drink.
what if he was in a gang with a lot of drinkers and he just didn't? Would he get forced to? I guess
No. All the more for me.
Yeah.
That's the way the guys thought.
Wow. Yeah.
But I mean, other people, groups that didn't drink or were family men, they all worked together, and they would have had a different perspective on it. You know what I mean? They didn't drink that much, or you know, when they went home after work, didn't go to the bar.
Yeah.
But I was a single guy, and we were working with single guys, and so we had a completely different perspective on, you know, this is how it was, and that's it.
Yeah.
So you had guys that were married, you know, had a family, well, they were different.
Yeah.
A lot of them, some of them weren't. But
Yeah. Were those the guys that went to West Shore?
yeah,
Yeah.
most of the guys that went to West Shore were married, had a family, and a steady schedule and
And
stuff.
I guess they wanted to stay away from the drinking.
West Shore cured a lot of drunks.
Yeah.
It did.
Yeah.
A lot of guys that would, and I was one of them, that go out to it. You know, but I was cured before. I quit drinking before I went to West Shore.
Yeah.
But a lot of guys that went out to West Shore were heavy drinkers, and would go into West Shore and work with the guys, the crew that didn't drink or very seldom drank, and there was, well, they quit drinking because there's nobody to drink with.
Yeah.
I know a friend of mine drank all that I knew, that I worked with him. And the day he retired, he had his last drink. Nobody to drink with. Yeah.
It's because of the social aspect of drinking.
The social aspect of it. And since he retired, nobody to drink with, he never had another drink.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's how much a social.
So it's more of the social than the actual beer.
He used to play hockey in New Westminster Royals. McIntyre was his name. And his son's was down, he's retired, and I don't know if he's got grandsons or what, but, you know, Wally McIntyre. And he was a hard man, strong, hard, tough guy. And he went, the minute he retired, bang, that was it.
Yeah. When you were when you first starting out longshoring, did you notice that members' sons got preferential treatment?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They got the, you know, the job they had their own members board and stuff.
Yeah.
And in those days, that was the accepted thing. And hey, I'm 17. I'm not going to buck against it. You know,
Yeah.
That's the way it is. That's the way it is.
Yeah. They don't have a members board anymore, right?
No.
When did they stop that? Or like around what time?
I think it was in the 80s they stopped.
The 80s?
it.
Yeah.
I think so. Because you see, I left the BCMEA, like the docks.
Yeah.
I went to West Shore in 1975.
Yeah.
So a lot of the things that happened,
You weren't there.
I wasn't there, and I was over here, and I was involved with West Shore
Yeah.
and stuff that's happening. So I wouldn't know the dates of when
Yeah,
things happened and stuff like that.
Yeah, but
Joe Briggs, Brian, they would know all the details of all that
yeah.
stuff.
So I was when I talked to Shane and Faith, and Shane, he says for 13 years he was known as Dean's son. And then did you hear a lot of that in that when you first started working? Like, what was there still a lot of family ties?
Oh yeah, all the time. And then I would come back. I would work for John from West Shore,
Yeah.
and I was known as Shane's dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, hey, Shane's dad. Yeah. So it was kind of the opposite. Every time I went to work, hey, I was Shane's dad.
Yeah.
So that's the way that was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't like my comment.
So would you say that has it changed the family ties, or has it grown more as the union has grown bigger?
It's grown more.
The strong family ties.
Yeah, I think, in my opinion, it's gotten more. Because you see what happens, and it's normal. I have a son. Well, Shane didn't. Let's say Joe Blow has a son,
Yeah.
and another Joe Blow has a daughter, and they're working. They get together, they're married, so they're ties there.
Wow.
They get together, and the grandson is working, and he meets, and pretty soon, you're really interconnected. And it doesn't take. You take like Chris. James is the third generation.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, in 3 generations, he married outside of Longshore. But other families didn't. They started, Longshore, and married inside and had their wives Longshore.
Does that happen often? That like Longshore families, have the sons or daughters get married?
I couldn't tell you. I know families.
You know some.
Yeah, I know some.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
Because now I've been out of it
Yeah.
for a lot of years, and now
Yeah.
Yeah, but I've known families that you have Husimas they had, was it 4? I think you had 4 living at home, 4 or 5, and all of them Longshore.
Yeah.
Mom and dad and the kids. So, that's what they told me.
Yeah. Faith said that there's one family on the waterfront that's 40 people.
That's Husimas.
Wow.
That's Hank Husima.
Yeah.
You got an interview with Hank. He was the lead guy.
Yeah?
Yeah. And how he got his job. He just he got kicked out of school or finished school and go to work. So his dad was working on the dock, and his dad brought him down and did a job. So for 3 days he came down and sat around, but nobody would hire him.
Yeah.
And finally, a superintendent said, "Okay, kid, pick up that chain and put that chain on a pallet board." And he did it, and he was hired.
Yeah.
That decision to hang around and be there for 3 days, he was a young kid, teenager. How did that affect the whole 40 people all the way down?
Yeah. Pretty amazing.
It is. The decisions you make as a young person, they affect.
Yeah.
You don't think so. Oh, this is just for me.
Yeah.
But no, it's not.
Yeah.
It affects everybody.
Did you ever work at Delta Port?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did lashing there. I did everything there.
Yeah.
Except because I didn't do the gantry there, and I didn't do the heavy equipment, but I did the lashing and I did the easy jobs there. 'Cause I was old. I had a seniority.
Yeah.
I did the easy jobs.
So, can you talk about when Delta Port opened? How did that? What did that mean for the longshoremen and the union?
It really made lots of work. The union, I think, tripled,
Yeah.
and it's all kinds of work. I've got pictures of Delta Port from the day it first started to build. They started to build it till it started working. And when I would come to work, about every few days, I'd be on the causeway and I'd take a picture.
Wow.
I'd go to the causeway, and then, and then slowly gone up, and I got a whole album of all the.
Oh, you should show at our next meeting. You should bring it. And maybe we want to use it for the book or something.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
I've got it all.
Yeah.
I just took a picture every week, or a picture,
Yeah.
sometimes a picture a day, whatever.
Yeah.
If I was working night shift, I couldn't. It was in
Yeah.
the
Of
morning.
course. Yeah.
Or whatever, anything.
Yeah. Is that when? Do you think when Deltaport opened, that's when automation really happened, mechanization, or was
Yeah.
it,
Yeah. And they're planning a new port on the other side
Yeah.
of Russia. When that goes, it's going to be the same. It's going to double our membership again.
Yeah.
Or maybe you want 2,000 people. It's going to. There'll be when that goes. There'll be so much work. It'll be just. Just right now, they can't get men.
Yeah.
And so it's a good thing to get into if you can.
Yeah. So.
Did Faith say you could do it?
Yeah. Faith told me she didn't say that she just said that the reason she tried it was because she knew it was a good living and just to try it. She's like, if you try it, then you can do it. Just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But she said that in the union, there's not a lot of women. It's still
No.
10 to 12%.
Yeah.
Only women.
Oh yeah. There's not many women.
Yeah.
But a lot of women, they first think of it. No, I can't do that.
Yeah.
That's not. My wife, I gave her no.
Yeah.
She didn't want to do it. She liked her nursing.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, so that was fine. I just said I never mentioned it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
I've got, brother-in-laws who never wanted it, and I've had others.
Yeah.
So
Can you talk a bit about the effects of having a union grow so fast? Kind of like this, in terms of
well,
the.
the effects of it was that the union members didn't learn the job good enough because it was so fast that they became members and they became workers and they were compartmentized.
Yeah.
And so before it grew, you did every job on the site.
Yeah.
And you could do lift truck, you could do everything,
Yeah.
and you knew it all. When it grew so fast, you only did one thing.
Yeah.
You never knew the rest. So to this day, you've got people who don't know the job. And when the job comes up down below on steel, they go down. They've never been on a ship, and they've been there for years.
Yeah.
And they have to have trainers, guys that know the job, go down there, and this is just paid especially to show these guys how to do the job. The guys been longshoremen for years.
Yeah.
That never happened before,
Yeah.
And you don't have, we grew so fast, we used to have the old timers tell the new guys and look after us and stuff.
Yeah.
You don't have that anymore.
Oh, you don't.
Everything is just full board, full steam ahead, and the guys.
Yeah.
It's too bad that way. This is why you got to have now trainers and stuff like that. They're taking the place of the old guys, how to do things safely.
Oh, the old timers.
Yeah, that would tell us how to do things safely, how to load this, how to unload that, and all the other kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So now you have to have trainers.
Yeah. But the trainers are probably experienced longshoremen,
Yeah, the
right?
trainers are the older guys.
Yeah.
But what's going to happen in 10 years when they retire?
Yeah.
So, because to get things done, I guess you have to compartmentalize things.
Yeah.
But then they only know one thing, like a bomb cart. You could be 10 years on and all you ever did is bomb cart.
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I think Shane told Faith, don't take bomb cart. Anything else.
Yeah.
You'll work 7 days a week, but you won't know anything else.
Yeah. And how does that affect like the union history? I guess because the union grew so fast, people don't have that history.
They don't have a history. So right now, what they do is as new guys come in, they tell them about the history. And Joe does that. And they want me to start doing it this next month.
Oh, awesome. Are you going to do it?
Yeah, I'm going to. I said, sure, I'll go down
Yeah.
there, give my little bit,
Yeah.
And so for the new guys coming in,
Yeah.
so that they know. And that's the only way we can handle it, I guess, now.
Yeah. But, but in that one meeting, they only hear a little bit of the history.
You only get a little bit.
Yeah.
This is why I think that book is so good.
Yeah.
To have that book and have it for the members or have it for the casuals and say, this is what you're coming in and this is
Yeah.
It's very important in my opinion.
Yeah. That's all my questions I have to say.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.